What would you do if you had the ability to sync minds with your best friend? A partner? Maybe even a stranger? Would you share the deepest part of yourself with them?
I can already read your mind.
Then what am I thinking about right now?
You're thinking about how much you want people to support our Kickstarter for our first feature film, Sync.
You're so right. If we raise the money, we can make an amazing sci-fi thriller about mind syncing and toxic relationships.
Support women in film and check out our campaign now. Just go to Kickstarter.com and search Sync, that's SYNC, or click on the link in our bio on social media, and follow us at FemRegard and at Sync the Movie.
Fem.
I want a new duck, one that won't try to bite.
All right, Matt, we heaped a lot of praise on Dare to Be Stupid last week.
Well-deserved praise.
So I'm sure we've got a ton of praise that we're going to throw at I Want to Do Duck now, right?
You know, this is really the first one. I remember being pretty lukewarm about Stop Dragging My Car Around. And there are things I like more than others, obviously. But this is the first one, really, that I am just... I don't know if I'm even a little bit on board.
But here's the other thing. First of all, I will say this much. With Stop Dragging My Car Around, you and I were both very open to the fact that we barely have any knowledge of the song Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
Yes.
I am positive that you are as much of a Huey Lewis and the News fan as I am.
I do. I love Huey. I'm definitely a fan.
This has never been his best song.
This is not my favorite song of his. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
It's not even the best song on Sports. Like,
no, not even close to the best song on Sports.
It's not even the best single off of Sports, because if This Is It is like a top 10 Huey Lewis song in my eyes.
And maybe we're immediately hitting on the thing, which is the same as Stop Dragging My Car Around, which is like, you picked, of all the Tom Petty songs, you picked this?
Yeah, but I
parody?
can at least justify this, because I would think that if you stopped someone on the street and said, name a Huey Lewis song, I think I Want a New Drug is going to be one of the first ones they say. I think it might be like Power of Love, I Want a New Drug.
Power of Love is definitely first at this point. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, it's possible I don't have a good handle on Huey Lewis's legacy at this point, because I feel like I don't hear this song very often anymore.
I don't either, but I also don't really hear Do You Believe in Love very often, or If This Is It, or Heart of Rock and Roll. Like, these are all songs that I think are great, but I think that they've also faded out.
I think Power of Love and Heart of Rock and Roll I do still hear more than this one, but also maybe I'm just being biased because I just think both of those songs are better than this. Again, I'm ignoring Al completely. Just
listen,
Huey
this is
Lewis.
also maybe it's also just because you didn't realize you were hearing I Want a New Drug and kept thinking it was the Ghostbusters theme. Like, that's also a possibility.
I know. There's a lot of confusion around that. It's very, very similar to Ghostbusters.
Controversial.
I was very controversial. Ghostbusters had a lot of legal issues around that music.
Yep.
Like, it was too close to too many other things. Yeah.
So this was the third parody that was recorded for the album.
Okay.
The fourth parody we'll get into when we get there, but Al, the brief thing that I'll say is Al was content to just have 3 parodies on his record, and they may have twisted his arm to put a fourth one on there.
Interesting.
Which
suddenly I remember what we're building up to.
Yeah,
yes.
which is still
yes,
a
I think that
away.
might be the case. But again, a great example. We were talking in the last episode about the originals on this record feeling so much more inspired.
Yeah,
and
I think that this would have been the only bad track on the album if that other parody didn't get recorded. Like, in all honesty, in my humble opinion, this is a big step down. And we haven't even really started to discuss the song. But I mean, there's a song called I Want a New Drug, and he called it I Want a New Duck. It is. I sent you a link the other day, jokingly being like, we need to do a bonus episode about Sesame Street parodies.
Yes.
And I love the Sesame Street parodies. I think that some of the Sesame Street parodies are hilarious. I appreciate them more when they actually are able to get the original artist to come on. Like, Jason Mraz did "Let's Go Outside" or "Go Outdoors" instead of "I'm Yours." And
funny enough, if we want to tie it completely together, when I was a kid, I have such a memory
"Hip to Be a Square"
of watching Sesame Street and then him doing "Hip to Be a Square" about shapes and stuff, and I was like, "This." I have such a memory of that.
I'm a square, look, I'll show you. I got 4 sides on me. All my sides are the same size, like a good-looking square should be.
Yes, and actually, now that you said that, I can't believe I forgot. Like, people will probably say "Hip to Be a Square."
"Hip to Be a Square" was also a huge Huey. I think that came later, though, right?
That came later,
Wasn't
but that's what I'm
okay.
saying. If people were like naming Huey Lewis in the news song, they would go with "Hip to Be a Square."
"Hip to Be a Square" is a big one, for sure, yeah.
I sent you "Born to Add," which is more of a parody of Jungle Land than it is "Born to Run" when you actually listen to it. But like "Born to Add" instead of "Born to Run" is like not even trying. To a certain extent. That's how I feel about "I Want a New Duck." Like, it's just like, I don't know, what's another word that starts with D that's close to the word drug? And then just writing it, like, it's just, Al, I think that as much as we talk about how much we love Al when he's really goofy and weird, like, I think the flip side is also, if you look at our rankings, and look, I know that I am the Brady Bunch hater, but Stop Dragging My Car Around, the Brady Bunch, and to a certain extent, like Another One Rides the Bus, they're really uninspired parodies from the gate. Like, compared to the creative, like taking Jeopardy and turning it into "I Lost on Jeopardy," or like taking Like a Surgeon and really going at it and changing everything that song's about. Like, this almost feels like a Mad Libs with the lyrics to "I Want a New Drug." Like, it was just like, all right, where can we change here? Like,
it really does. And it seems like, and again, I think, you're right. We expect, or at least I should say, I expect, when we were just talking about Like a Surgeon, like there is depth to what he is trying to say. He is changing the lyrics and making them goofy, but also usually sort of talking about something interesting also along with that. You know, there's like a Surgeon had this whole like healthcare industry subtext to it about like people getting ripped off and dying and not being able to pay the bill because the unqualified doctor killed them. And this song is truly just about a duck doing stuff for this guy.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to read it. Other than, isn't it hilarious that he wants a duck that doesn't bite? Yeah,
like so according to Wikipedia, Al has said that he went to the local library about once a week to read up on ducks and the nature of ducks. And all I can think is that while doing so, he was like, man, there's not a lot to work with here. So he just went with like goofy lyrics about like, I hope the duck rescues me if I'm drowning. There's only like 2 lines that I actually think are, I wouldn't even say clever, but they make me do a very like, huh, like when it comes up. And I like the line, "One that's not going to migrate or escape," is like kind of funny. And the way he says, "A mallet, I think," like those are
yeah.
Like those are the only lines that really work.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, I could be being a total revisionist on this, but I think even as a kid, I just didn't think this was very good or creative.
I was just going to say, I feel the same way. Like, even as a kid, I was like, I don't know about this. This is not that funny to me. And I have to say as well, like, not to doubt that story, but boy, does this sound not like Al spent weeks in a library. It sounds like this was written in the car on the way to the studio. Like, oh God, I forgot to finish that Huey parody.
But it's also, it kind of sucks that it's literally sandwiched. It's sandwiched between Like a Surgeon and Yoda, which are arguably 2 of the best parodies he's ever written.
Yes.
And Dare to Be Stupid and One More Minute, which are arguably 2 of the best originals he's ever written.
Great originals.
And
yeah, no, this is a very sore thumb. This is the middle finger between those songs.
It is like, there's no place on this album where this song would have not been bad, but sandwiched between the biggest peaks of this album, it's even more glaring.
Yeah,
how out of place
it really
is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
Not to play my hands early for one more minute and
I have
like
to-
Yoda, but like you're listening to a Weird Al podcast, you know that those songs
Oh yeah,
are
those two are
masterpieces.
big. I mean,
But
again, I have to question like what did he learn at the library about ducks? I'm sorry, I'm hung up on this. Like it's basically 3 or 4 duck puns, which
he
is
probably
I'll tie
learned
him
that they
up.
quack all night.
I'll
He was
tie him
like,
up with
"Oh."
duct tape. He learned that they quack. He learned that they have webbed feet.
Like we talked about this with like King of Suede, that he like walked around and like literally just wandered around fabric stores.
Yeah.
And it actually shows in King of Suede. Like
yeah, but
it's-
I would say, but even that has some like world building to
Yeah.
it. Like there's actually a story here. Like this is like, oh man, you know what's
Here's-
so funny too? It feels
here's
so
what I-
dumb being mad at something that's this silly.
it's so silly.
Like I feel so
But it's-
silly like being upset.
But no, I've said this about Brady Bunch, and I'll say it again here. It's just
Yeah.
that I expect better out of Al.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I hold him on such a. Listen. If you're listening to this many episodes, you know that we are not out here to shit on Weird Al
Oh God,
Yankovic.
no.
You know what I mean? Like,
I absolutely love Al, and honestly, like nothing would make me happier than if someone could listen to this episode and then write to us and be like, "Well, actually, you missed the metaphor he was saying about like what it means to be in the down feather industry and how
Yeah.
they explain." I'd be like, "Oh, that's amazing!" I really would love to know that there was like an angle to this that I was missing, because. Again, like I want a new duck, one that won't steal my beer.
yeah. So let
Like
me tell
ducks
you.
don't do that.
So let me tell you something else about the perfect placement of us talking about I Want a New Duck right now.
Yeah.
I have been pretty open that one of the biggest inspirations on the structure of Weird Algorithm is my love of the Gilmore Guys podcast and the idea
Yes.
of like hyper analyzing something super wholesome. And
Yes.
and Gilmore Guys is one of my all-time favorite podcasts. One of their frequent guests has a show called The Best of Friends that did a similar thing to Gilmore Girls, where they hyper analyzed 2 episodes of Friends
Right.
in order of release. So I, as someone who like has always just been a lukewarm Friends fan anyway,
Sure.
I was like, you know what? Let me give Friends a sincere chance. I'll watch 2 episodes a day, and then I'll listen to the Best of Friends episode that corresponds with those episodes. This morning I woke up and I watched my 2 episodes of the day, and they were literally the episodes where Chandler and Joey get a bunch of chicks and a duck. And then I had to listen to I Want a New Duck. And I was like, I almost feel like if this song came out 10 years later, I could at least be like, oh, he wrote it because of that Friends episode. Like that seems to make more sense than just the existence of him writing I Want a New Duck.
Yeah. That's a good question. And I wonder if we're like, is this another, maybe there is a reference. I don't know. Is this like the guy from That Boy Could Dance? Is this a Diamond Jim situation? Is this something I just don't know? Is this like secretly about Al seeing Howard the Duck and
Well,
wanting
Howard
to
the
talk
Duck came
about
out a year later.
a year later?
Yeah.
See,
that's
nothing
86.
tracks.
Nothing tracks.
And not that any of this has anything to do with Howard the Duck, but at least that's a duck that does things. Howard the Duck might steal your beer.
Howard the Duck, that's not a
Yes.
maybe. Howard the Duck, especially in the comic books, would
Oh,
steal
yeah.
your beer.
One that won't drive me crazy, waddling all around. Yeah, that's Howard the
Yeah,
Duck.
that's
Like, that
Howard.
for
Maybe he's a
sure.
fan of the comics. Maybe he was writing this hoping that they would use it the next year in the Howard. They announced that there was a Howard the Duck movie. He's like, I'm going to write that theme song.
I'm going to write this song. I'm going to get this in the movie. He had no idea that he was going to get Dare to Be Stupid in Transformers. He was going the totally wrong way. He was aiming for Howard the Duck.
I also have a theory. I think that he did go to the local library. He read a lot about medical stuff, and then on his way out each week, he was like, let me read a real quick book about ducks.
A real
And I
quick
mean-
book about ducks. A children's picture book about ducks. Yeah, I cannot get enough of that idea that like this took a lot of scientific research to get here to the duct tape or how to get down.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice.
We're taking a lot of shots at I Want a New Duck.
Yeah.
And some could argue for very valid reasons, but almost 30 years after the song's release,
This is the silver lining of this song.
it
yes.
paid off in what is still to this day one of the most enjoyably funny things that Funny or Die has ever produced.
Absolutely.
Which is to celebrate the 30-year anniversary of sports. They recreated the scene from American Psycho where Christian Bale talks to Jared Leto about the song Hip to Be a Square and recreated it with Huey Lewis playing the Christian Bale role and Weird Al playing the Jared Leto role. And instead, Huey Lewis talking about the movie American Psycho. And so, first off, the perfect synchronization of him putting play on the TV and him pointing to the TV, perfectly synced up with Christian Bale pointing.
Yeah, he's actually like at the same time pointing at the screen as Christian Bale points. I mean, it is amazing to watch the way that those line up.
His little like dance moves, him like shuffling. I think it works because Huey Lewis is so not an actor.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I don't care that he starred in Duets, that movie that no one remembers from the late 90s.
Oh my God, Duets! I've never heard of that.
It's not good.
Huey Lewis starred in a movie?
He was the leading romantic lead in a movie called Duets. He also weirdly, my first exposure to Huey Lewis was that he appeared on an episode of Wienerville on Nickelodeon when I was a kid. And my dad was like,
wow, I remember that.
My dad was like, yo, go. My dad said, go into the rec room and find the cassette that says Huey Lewis in the News Sports. I'm pretty sure that's Huey Lewis. And like I had to bring him the cassette.
Wow.
We compared the faces and then he said, my name's Huey. Like when they asked him what his name was, and I'm like, oh my God, why is this guy on Wienerville right now?
That's crazy. And I just looked up Duets, Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Have you seen this movie, Matt?
No. I've heard more than enough to know that I don't need to see
I was checking.
A movie that came out in the year 2000 starring Huey Lewis. Peak of his powers.
Duets is a road trip comedy which revolves around the little-known world of karaoke. The little-known world of karaoke. And the whimsical characters who inhabit it. All roads lead to Omaha, site of a national karaoke competition. Come on. How is this real? Where this motley group of singers and stars come together for a blowout sing-off. I mean, that sounds like more of a parody than this song.
You get to hear Paul Giamatti sing Try a Little Tenderness, apparently.
Oh, my God.
The songs that Huey Lewis sings in it...
I don't even know what's real anymore.
Are
this
Lonely
is crazy.
Teardrops. He sings Feeling All Right, and he does a duet with Gwyneth Paltrow singing Smokey Robinson's Cruisin'.
Oh, my God.
You know what? I also see in here that Gwyneth Paltrow sings Betty Davis Eyes, and I have a feeling without ever hearing Gwyneth Paltrow sing that she probably does a really good version of Betty Davis's Eyes. I feel like she probably can do that song all right.
Oh,
actually.
probably. Yeah. I'm God, I don't know. I mean, I can be a glutton for punishment with movies like this. A part of me feels like I need to see what this is.
Look, you can watch Duets all you want. Just like I said last week, you got to prioritize Johnny Dangerously above that one.
Okay, so my to-watch lists, Johnny Dangerously, and then Duets. This is a lot for me to do, but I'm going to get through it. Don't worry. I'm going to do an update on my movie watching.
I just realized I promised in January to Chris that I would finally watch Pretty Woman because I'd never seen it before the end of the year, and that time is getting closer and closer.
You're running out of time for Pretty Woman.
I got to watch it soon. I'm sure I'll love it. I'm sure it's charming. But yes, so he is talking about American Psycho, and then at the very end, he kills Weird Al with the axe and then yells, "Try parodying one of my songs now, you stupid bastard," before it just starts playing I Want a New Duck. And it's like... Oh, it's beautiful.
He murders him pretty brutally, too. There's some real blood splatter through the room, like not unlike the original American Psycho. It is a graphic moment of watching Al be murdered by Huey Lewis.
Yeah. And then I also read this fact, which is insane, but... In 1987, Disney produced a TV special called Down and Out with Donald Duck, and they used the song in a montage of Donald's fall from stardom.
I mean, honestly, for Al to write this song, like, I thank God he got some duck placement out of it. Like someone had to use this for something. It feels like it was, you know what, honestly, and again, I don't know, it almost feels like it was written for a specific purpose. Like we were joking about Howard the Duck earlier, but sometimes there's like if it feels like there should be a reference and there's not one, maybe that's because there actually was some sort of who knows? He might have been told like, oh, do a duck thing because there's a tie-in, something's coming down the line. It's not impossible.
I will say this, and this
is me really meeting Al more than halfway.
No. I'm going to kind of agree with you, and this is the reason why I'm saying this. I have gone on the record years ago when I did that ranking of albums.
Yeah.
I put Alapalooza as the absolute worst Weird Al album back then. Now, maybe we'll re-listen to this and I'll feel differently. But my biggest argument that I've always had with this album, with that particular album, is that Jurassic Park, Bedrock Anthem, Talk Soup, like, it feels like he was writing songs for movies he knew were on the horizon, or projects that needed songs. And it almost, like you said, it doesn't feel like he's writing songs to capture something right then and there, but that he was writing songs for what might happen in 94. And that's why I feel like I think that he does that sometimes.
It is a real thing. This is based on no information at all.
No, zero. None at all.
I was going to say, I have one myself, which is just purely speculative on my part. In 2008, Katy Perry put out the song Waking Up in Vegas on her that big record of hers with all those songs on it. In 2009, less than a year later, the movie The Hangover came out. And I thought to myself, it would not surprise me at all if there was an open call in the songwriting world. This happens, where they're like, hey, we have a movie coming out. We have a movie coming out. We have this coming out, and we need songs to feature in it that will be appropriate and fit. And you write a song like that. I mean, Katy Perry didn't write that song, but someone did. And you try. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't matter. You put it out anyway, and it's just another song on your record. You know, it doesn't have to be so narrow a field, but like, that's an interesting coincidence. There was also a Rihanna song called Disturbia that came out a little bit around the time where a movie came out called Disturbia. Those could be coincidences, but I don't think it's out of the question that, that was some behind the scenes trying to make trying to do some sort of a cross promotion that for whatever reason didn't actually happen. And I wonder if it's possible.
I could be making this up, but I feel like I heard something even similar. Not quite to that level, but I want to say it's like You're the Best from Karate Kid or Eye of the Tiger from Rocky 3. Like, there's some song that is iconic in one movie, but it was written for a different movie. Like, I feel
that wouldn't surprise me at all. It's a real, it does happen.
Yeah, like I want to say that I think I read like You're the Best was written for Rocky 3 and they didn't use it, but then someone grabbed it for Karate Kid. Or it's like, so like,
that's
like
so
I feel like I've heard
a
story like that where I'm like, that totally checks out. So whatever. Yeah. Look, let's just do the ranking. Let's rip this Band-Aid off.
No, I'm Al, if you're listening to this, I still love you. We're cool. Don't even worry about it. I understand that you were aiming for this Howard the Duck thing. You knew Marvel was going to be huge.
Yeah.
You saw it coming and you were like, I'm going to get in on the ground floor with this Duck song. And it just didn't work out. It's okay. Having said that, I might have to put this at the lowest possible point. I'm just double checking my list here. Yeah, I'm putting this at the very, very bottom.
Okay. I am not.
Great. I hate it when we agree, Matt. I like it much better when we're off each other a little bit.
So I'll explain why. I'm going to put...
Because you hate Brady Bunch so much.
I'm putting I Want a New Duck above Brady Bunch. And it's for two reasons.
Tell everyone why.
It's for two reasons. Reason number one.
Here we go.
Brady Bunch never gave us a payoff. This at least gave us that Funny or Die sketch.
Well, it hasn't given us a payoff yet.
It hasn't given us a payoff yet. So I will give it a point for that. And I actually think that there is a parody on this album that is even worse than I Want a New Duck. So
it is not impossible.
So
I might already bump this again. I haven't decided yet, but this is just, I will give it a lot of credit because I love the video after the fact, and that Funny or Die clip makes me love Huey Lewis because I think he's got a great sense of humor about it, and Al for doing that. I mean, they're not I just always love stuff like that.
Look,
And
I
yes,
don't think that we're doing a lot of talking in circles where I don't think this is secretly Al's favorite parody that he's ever done. You know
I
what
can't
mean?
imagine anyone's going to have their feelings hurt too bad. But yeah, I mean, look, we're ranking all these songs, and this is going to happen.
Something's got to hit the bottom.
Something's
got to
be at the bottom. Something's got to be at the top. A whole lot's got to be in the middle. Is this song going to be the bottom of the bottom of the bottom when we're done with this? Probably not.
But
I don't know for sure. Probably not.
I can promise you that Brady Bunch will not be at the bottom forever.
There you go.
Unless I have a whole turnaround when we get to another parody that's on this album. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Yoda.
We hate it. That's funny, actually. I really don't know. I'm trying to think of other. Well, I have time to think about it as we get closer. But yeah.
I mean, there might be some other. Look, we're going to eventually have to discuss Bedrock Anthem, which I think is a perfectly acceptable parody, but even the band has openly been like, yeah, we were real let down. I
didn't know that. The band said they were not on. Wait, the Chili Peppers?
The Chili Peppers were like, they're like, when we heard that, we're like, that's what you're doing with our song. Like, they were like, apparently not thrilled with like I guess because it's just like what he did with Nirvana the year prior. You're just like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And he's just singing the Flintstones theme. Like,
yeah, comparing it to Nirvana was that is a tough one for the Chili Peppers. Yeah.
There have definitely been. He's not all home runs.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
Something's got to eventually be at the bottom of the list.
Yes.
And right now for you, it's
and right now this is it. For me, it's this. And
for me,
again,
it's the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
I'm just coming at it.
From that, it's the Brady Bunch. Where I really want. Who is anyone from the Brady Bunch still around? Can we get them on this show? I want to talk to someone about the Brady. I want to, make some calls, Matt. Get someone from the Brady Bunch, and we're gonna see what they think about Al's song that is just their theme song to different music.
Yeah, I think they'll just say, "Who is this?"
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.